Most superpowers are based on being way beyond human abilities or even beyond physics, right? But there are some superheroes that the super comes from their use of science and technology. There are many examples, but there is one that had a really good idea, which is to share that technology with everybody. If you read that title, you know that I'm talking about Syndrome. The thing is that this guy was way too smart for some things, but also way too dumb for others.
I'm Syndrome!
First, if you see something like this, with things coming out of the boot, it means that there is fuel. And he doesn't have any tank. So where does he hide it? On the other hand, you have Iron Man, for example, that has the arc reactor in his chest. And it's cheating, but it's a source of energy of some kind. Also, he balances himself with his hands, while Syndrome only uses his boots. And don't get me wrong, you can fly perfectly fine with boots, and we have a SpaceX to prove it. The thing is that a little preservation would trigger a huge change in the movement. So he would... Let me explain. The boots have to be powerful enough for lifting his weight. And he has to be able to maintain that force with each leg. And that's not easy at all. If you want to test it yourself, try to lift your whole body from the ground with only one leg. It's really hard unless you have really strong legs. On the other hand, I have to say something in Syndrome's favor, which is how his mass is distributed. He has a pretty big chest and tiny legs. I know this was something bad in the previous point, but now it's better comparing to how rockets work, because the center of the mass or center of gravity is somewhere similar. So Syndrome will fly as stable as a rocket as long as the trajectory is somewhat similar. The thing is that it's not. To be fair, it's not completely impossible, but the odds are not with Syndrome landing on his feet. Capes. You come back home. You've been all day working. You're tired of... What does he do for a living? He owns an island. How much is an island? Come here. Right, an island. Private Island Inc. Seems right. Oh, I want to islands for sale. Yeah. How much is the all the high to low? 39 million. Yeah, I can pay that someday. I won't. As I was saying, you get back home and you're tired of working, I guess. And there are candles on the floor, so there's a surprise for you. And you walk in, and when you realize that your cape is on fire, and then you're dying because you're burning alive. Stop using capes, please. Please. Bomb in his arm. Oh no, someone's gonna hit me. Let me protect myself. Oh no, he hit the bomb that I carry in my forearm, and I'm exploding and dying. It's f***ing stupid.
0 point energy.
This is his best creation by far, and it's how he calls the thing that he does with his finger to trap people. And the only way that I can think of to explain this is by laser trapping. To understand this, we have to see how atoms work. You see, it's something like digivolving actually. You have a ground state. We can forget this one. You have a ground state where the atom is stable, but it can get excited and get to another one, a more powerful one, a higher energy one, and this is unstable, so it gets back to the ground state. And this ground state is called 0 point energy. So I think in Pixar happened something like this. Hey, there's something called 0 point energy. That's cool, right? What is it? I don't know. It's cool. Now we know how atoms work, so let's explain quickly how a laser trap works. The excitement of the atom that I mentioned only happens when the right type of light or radiation hits the atom. It digivolves and then liberates a photon in a random direction. So, if you have an atom going towards you and you shoot a laser to it, the light will be absorbed, the momentum of the atom will be decreased by the momentum of the photon, that the evolution takes place, and when it gets back to the ground state, the random direction of the photon makes the overall velocity decrease to almost zero. This means that if you have a bunch of atoms in a laser trap and all of them are being slowed down, the temperature of that material will be decreased to almost zero, because the temperature is a consequence of the movement. This is why this technique is called laser trapping or laser cooling, and these lasers make a trap out of this device, because they are preventing the atoms from moving, from getting out of it, just like the depression preventing you from doing things. Conclusion: we can trap depressed cold Digimons with lasers. Yay! Anyways, we must not lose a point, which is to trap people, and maybe freeze them to death. I came up with 3 ways to make this work. Kind of. 1. Trapping the whole body as a single thing. If you want to trap someone with this technique, you would need 6 huge lasers with an incredible power just to trap it, supposing that it's possible. But you would need a huge variety of wavelength in that laser, which is opposed to what a laser is, and also you would need to know the exact speed of each part of his body, unless it's floating or something like that, because if it's moving, the velocity changes and the wavelengths are different because of Doppler effect, and it's horrible. However, Syndrome only shoots one single stream of blue thing, and it's only useful to trap atoms that are coming in this direction. Also, the stream is very thin, as wide as his finger, so you can only catch really tiny people, which is not as useful, to be honest. Let's suppose now that the blue thing is some kind of jelly that has a ton of micro lasers inside of it, and those micro lasers can shoot in the direction that you want. Seems crazy, I know, but surely this will be possible someday by intelligent materials or something like that. This consideration is needed for the following methods. So, second, push the atoms inwards. By inwards I mean the insides of your opponent. And we can focus on the carbon atoms because we are carbon-based beings, and actually this does not mean that your opponent is immobilized. Actually, there are 2 outcomes. The first one is that the molecule forces are stronger than the laser trap, so the enemy escapes unharmed, and the second one is that the trap is stronger than the forces that keep the skin together, so if your enemy tries to move, his or her skin would be ripped apart and would become a skinless being. And also there's a problem with clothes, but you would need your enemy to be naked, and it's not that common to find someone naked in a fight, I think. So if trapping the skin doesn't work because your prey can still move, we have to attack the source of the movement, which are the muscles. 3. Trap the atoms of the muscles. This is the craziest and the most promising one. Let's get the previous method to the next step and consider that each micro laser can produce a different wavelength, which is a different color, a different energy, a different atom that you can trap. This doesn't fix too much by itself, but if you can avoid the skin, you can trap every molecule inside your body. And what happens if you trap every single atom of a living person? Yes, that it dies. Which makes me think, why didn't Syndrome stop here and insta-kill anyone by brain damage and heart attacks? Oh, that's why. Anyway, we were on what happens if you trap every single atom of someone. And the answer is that he or she can no longer move. And we can achieve that through upconversion. The upconversion is a quantum effect that transforms light from low energy to high energy, and the principle is quite similar to what I explained before. But the atom, instead of absorbing one photon and releasing it in a random direction, the atom absorbs a photon, gets excited, and before it has time to release it, another photon hits the atom and it gets even more excited. So when the atom releases all the energy, the resulting photon is much more energetic, which means that the wavelength is different, which means that the color is different, which means that this new photon can trap a different atom. And you may think, that's cool and all, but the problem was that the skin was in the middle, so what the hell are you telling me? And you'd be stupid, because I'm reading a script, and I know what I'm saying. The thing is that the low energy light, which is the red light, can pass through your body, just like the Wi-Fi, just like the microwaves, just like the radio waves, and just like happens with this white light, which is now red when I put my finger in front of it. Why? Because the only light that is passing through my finger is the red light. So the idea is you shoot lasers with light that can pass through your body, with red light, and then inside your body you shift it into the light that you need for trapping the molecules of your muscles. So the upconversion happens inside your muscles, and that's how you avoid your skin. Simple, right? The only tiny problem is that now in the blue thing you need to have micro lasers
and also nanoparticles that change your
light into the light that you want inside of your skin. So that jelly has to penetrate inside your skin to make this option possible.
So you only need some kind of jelly that responds to your commands instantly and that moves wherever you command, moves super quick, that has nanoparticles inside of it that makes upconversion. It's hard, I know, but he's able to make that, and he wears a cape. This idea of having some kind of jelly that moves super quick and all that is quite impossible right now, I think. But maybe this video makes you investigate about that, and we can have that in a few years. Check out my socials, because I think I'm gonna start uploading stuff there. And that's it. Thank you so much. Bye. With thing coming. With he has a